Hey there, I am Kay Thompson. Welcome to my channel, Karma Dog Speak. Today I'm diving into a full comparison of Halo dog collar, SpotOn dog collar, the new Roam 350 from Heel, as well as other electronic dog collars to see what their differences are and how to make the best choice for you and your pet. Whether your priority is dog training, pet safety, remote collars for communication, and/or boundaries set by GPS tracking, proximity monitoring, the pet market has smart devices for all types of dogs and dog owners. Today I'll give you some things to think about when you're trying to make the right choice before you invest, whether your focus is dog behavior, pet containment system, or just looking for an affordable training technology. I hope today I can help you make an informed choice. Be sure to check out my blog, Karma Dog Speak, and I hope you like and subscribe. I wanted to compare Halo and SpotOn today, give you some things to think about whenever you're purchasing or investing in your dog. Both products, Halo and SpotOn, are excellent GPS collars. They both have a little bit different features and they have a different pricing structure that you just need to think about before. The other thing that I'm going to also share with you are two other collars that if you're not interested in a GPS base, but you need something to keep your dog somewhat contained and or communicate in a better way with your dog, I'm going to highlight two other products here that are very inexpensive that you can also find. All my links are going to be posted down below. I appreciate it if you like and subscribe, and if you use my links, that helps to support my channel. First collar I'm going to start with is going to be the SpotOn, and I want to tell you a little bit about this collar. This is the same one that they sent me 2 years ago. They just recently updated the whole collar itself. It looks pretty much the same. The main difference, however, is the SIM card. This collar actually worked originally with just Verizon and AT&T. You had to decide which one was mainly the best service you were going to get. Now it actually communicates much more effectively on any cellular network, so you don't have to worry about it. Setting up this collar is very simple on the app. You basically join it to your cell phone, you tell it or load whatever fence you want to use, and it's going to create a boundary for you. Now, a little note about GPS. GPS boundaries have a fluctuation. That means that you are going to be working to train your dog to a sound, not a physical location, because you want your dog to know what that sound means regardless of where you're at. You can set this fence up anywhere. You can also take it remotely, completely remotely off grid with you. You can either have a subscription or not have a subscription. It just depends on how many features you want to have. For the feedback portion of this collar does take prongs. I do not have them in today. The first level of feedback is going to be the sound area feedback. You can then add the vibration feedback, and then the further that they're moving away from their boundary, you can use the static feedback. One thing to note about the SpotOn collar is that the feedback for the static goes from 0 to 30. For static feedback, a 1 to a 4 is basically a tap on a shoulder for a dog. But there are going to be other breeds that do need more structure or personalities. I have, for example, Cosmo. Cosmo needs very clear boundaries, but believe it or not, despite his incredible energy, he actually just responds to sound. He hears that and he zips back around. I know two other dogs that are small little Frenchies, and guess what? They actually need a high level to go ahead and respond to their collar. And that is why I say every dog is different and you have to know your dog. Now, a couple of the cool features on the SpotOn. Number one, you can obviously set a fence. You can have multiple fences. You can also create keep away zones with a subscription plan. You can also create a zone of safety. So, for example, GPS fluctuates and it can drift. So, sometimes people were getting feedback in the house. SpotOn has alleviated that by creating a boundary around the house that you can add that makes it a keep in zone, which means once the dog comes into the house, it doesn't read, for example, all of that it needs or gives feedback. Additionally, you can track your dog wherever they're at. It's constantly updated. One of the other nice things about SpotOn is that you can also add other users onto the collar. And what's really nice about that is, for example, when I travel, I don't have to give away my user information. I can just create an account and actually set them up. So with the SpotOn, you can either not have a subscription or have a subscription. Subscription is only going to cost $9.99 a month. There are no different tiers, very simple. They do give a discount for a 1-year subscription, and I believe even a further discount for a 2-year subscription. One of the great things about it is when you buy a collar, you also get an opportunity to speak with a training specialist to help walk you not only through the training, but also through the documentation that they have, which is very helpful. The other option is to have no subscription. You set up your fence, it stores in the collar, and you have it and you're good to go. Now, the battery life on this model is their older model, lasted about 12 to 18 hours. Their newer model also has an extended battery life, about 23 to 25. Now, one thing that's really nice about SpotOn is you can turn off the collar completely by holding this button down. Just so you also know, over here where the satellite is, this is what is communicating with the satellites. Now, satellites drift, so you actually want this up towards the sky whenever you clip it on your dog, and you want it clipped up close, not on their trachea at all, and that way it's not choking. If you're using the prongs, you definitely want to have the prongs both in contact with the neck. That way they get the feedback if they reach that level. Lastly, let's talk about warranty. They warranty their product for at least a year. If there's damage that's done by the owner or the dog, they will actually repair that anywhere from like $50 to $250. If the product itself is defective, they really do stand by their product. They're very good with customer service. I literally got off the phone working with somebody for a good 30 minutes, going through all of the different things, making sure that I have everything right for you, the viewer, so that you understand a little bit more about this product and make sure that I get everything accurate out to you. Now, this is the Halo 4. The Halo 4 is also a great product. You're going to notice I do not have my prongs in. Again, you have the exact same feature of being able to have sound, vibration, and of course, static feedback. The static feedback on the Halo only goes from 0 to 10 versus the SpotOn where it goes 0 to 30. It is very well constructed. It does have, however, different parts to it. So, for example, I can actually take apart the collar and put different threads on it. It has this canvas cover which protects it. They've removed that little window. I've talked about that in other videos. And of course, they have nice durable clips. I also like that it comes in a variety of colors. Vivi's is a little bit dirty, but let's go ahead and dig into the features of the Halo. So as I noted, you can set your custom feedback based on whatever your dog needs. It does have a GPS tracker on it, so you can identify where your dog is at all times. So for example, I can tell if my dog's in the backyard or the front yard. It has a return whistle, and the return whistle will allow you to go ahead and call back your dog. So let's say your dog is outside in the backyard, but you're out in the front and you want to call them to you, you can actually remotely do that right through your app. I will share with you there is a small delay depending on how far or how connected that collar is. Now, the activity tracker is also in the app. That will also give you an idea of how active your dog is, how many steps they're taking, and that's actually measured through swinging, just like a Fitbit. One thing to note is that you actually do have to have a subscription to utilize this collar and for it to work. Now, Halo has a bronze plan. Basically, the bronze plan lets you create up to 5 automated fences with access to their data, storage, basic tracking and training and content. The silver plan runs at around $15 a month, $4.99 for each additional collar. That gives you up to 20 different fences. And then there is the gold plan, which is $20 per month plus $5 per month for each additional collar. You get more personalized training with experts that are part of the Halo Pack team. One thing to note is that you actually do have to have a subscription to utilize this collar and for it to work. One thing you can do with SpotOn is you can actually turn on or off your subscription as needed. So let's say you're traveling away and you want to have your collar tracking your dog's location at the RV park that you're staying at. That is something you can implement just temporarily, and then you can turn it back off for when you get home if you have it set up more like an invisible fence solution. One of my frustration points with today's economy is our subscription-based economy, is you have to pay to play. And I think that's something to really keep in mind when you're looking at buying a collar, is thinking about what the long-term cost is. While Halo is less expensive at the beginning, over time that builds up a lot. So think about what the solution is. What are your absolute must-haves that you need for your collar? And then decide what it would be nice to have. And then figure out your collar from there. That would be my suggestion if you're trying to make the best pick for yourself. One major difference between Halo and SpotOn is space. If you are on a tighter footprint of a property and you need smaller boundaries, Halo is a much better fit. SpotOn recommends a little bit larger space. So that's also something to keep in mind that also makes them very different. Things that you're going to see in both collars. You are going to have fluctuations in GPS, not only because the technology needs to catch up to the collars itself, but the satellites are rotating around the Earth. There are going to be times when the satellites are directly overhead, they have a clear shot, and there's other times where it is a problem. There are also other natural things that can actually affect your collar that we forget about. For example, a geomagnetic storm. It doesn't happen often, but that can affect the accuracy of the satellites as well. Now, one of the other products I talked about in the comparison video was WAGs. WAGs came out a few years ago. I had reached out to them when they originally came out and I said, hey, send me your collar. They wouldn't send me their collar. And you know what? I had a gut feeling that they wouldn't be in business. And guess what? They are no longer in business. I'm not sure why or what happened or if they were absorbed by another company, but the WAGs product is not around anymore. But I do want to talk about some other solutions and basic features that you may or may not want. So for example, let's say you're a dog owner though, and you don't have the financial budget for a $500 to $1,000 collar plus possible subscription costs. I'm going to give you a couple of other solutions. There are some new products on the market that are really helpful. This is by Roam Heel 360. This is what's called a proximal collar. I'm going to tell you how it works differently. Number one, I want you to know this is not GPS based. This collar actually works off of radio frequencies, like a traditional training collar. However, this reads the device as the main unit, and then there's a circumference around this unit for how far the dog can travel. So if you want to have your dog just in your backyard, you can literally have this at your back door and they have a boundary. I tested this out. My furthest boundary was all the way back to my shed. And as soon as I started to hit it, you could see the collar actually light up and I had to stop and of course turn around. You can also decide if you want a dog to have static on this. You can also recall your dog back as you need to. There is no subscription cost associated with this, and you can have up to 2 dogs on this device. So if you're interested in something that provides a boundary without utilizing GPS or all the other technology involved, this may be a product you want to look at, and I will put that link down below. The last collar you may want to consider is just an e-training collar. There are a ton of e-training collars out there, and I'm going to share with you e-training collars have huge value. They tighten up your communication. Things that you have to give up, though, are a specific boundary for the dog. And guess what? You are the one who controls the boundary. One of the best things about it is that it controls consistently as long as you are on the ball. Also, if you've trained your pet with an e-collar, it is hugely helpful. This is a very inexpensive collar. It's under $75, found on Amazon. I have 2 of them for that whole kit that actually connect to here and I can flip on and off. And I will actually put the video link down below about how to use this and what I thought of it. It's been consistent. It runs around a 3/4 of a mile. And for an inexpensive solution, this actually fit my needs. So as you're purchasing different e-collars or experimenting with different things for your pet and working on communication, think about what you need and what you're going to have to do. I wanted to compare Halo and SpotOn today, give you some things to think about whenever you're purchasing or investing in your dog. Both products, Halo and SpotOn, are excellent GPS collars. They both have a little bit different features and they have a different pricing structure that you just need to think about before you decide to do that. If you're not quite ready and you want to try something that's lower cost, these are a little bit lower to go ahead and try and implement, see if it works for you. The biggest challenge in working with any dog is the human. And when we aren't consistent and clearly communicate what it is that we need, they don't get it. It's really that simple. Both GPS collars, also keep in mind, if you are not technology savvy, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, if you don't like apps, that is not the product for you. Please go contact a company in which you can create a safe boundary and you have support in a very different way. Those are better fits. Again, if you've liked anything that you've heard today, like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for following along.